We left a few seconds ago. We were talking about this new book that's coming out with some really interesting claims from inside the White House called Fire and Fury. And apparently nobody thought that the new guy was actually going to win the election. Right. That's one of the things that they said. And the other thing was that his daughter felt she was qualified to be the first female president. And I think I cut you off. Were you about to say something about
No, if she's qualified to be president, so am I.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if it only takes your dad being a famous politician, and again, she is a businesswoman and all these things, but, you know, I think that we are Americans, and we don't have a dynasty on purpose. And I think especially in this specific climate of being against so many, the Clintons, the Bushes, et cetera, I think it would be a lot and sort of historically ignorant to think it would be easy just because of your last name.
Well, he wasn't qualified to be the president either.
That's right.
But I mean, historically, I mean, your father was eminently qualified to be president. He has a, you know, has a rich history, as Vice President Gore did, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. But I think it's fair to say that President Bush 43, who was a governor of Texas, and it's a little different governorship. It's sort of a half governorship, didn't have much.
And neither did
neither did President Obama. Had been a state senator and a U.S. senator for a short period of time. So it's not like, you know,
Trump had no government experience.
No, I thought we were talking about Ivanka. I was talking about Ivanka. I said, you know, you know, it is not, you know, we historically think of people having an experience like Meghan's father and others, but we're seeing more and more different. But, you know,
she certainly can run. I would be interested to see her give an interview with anyone other than Fox.
Well, you know, we've been saying for a long time.
Yeah. Honestly, you can't become president. Well, I guess you can.
You understand, I'm not saying she should run. I'm just...
We've been saying for a long time that, I've said it from year one, that one of the reasons he ran is to make more money. I think that that's true. This is why the emoluments clause is hanging on his head and why he doesn't want anybody to see his tax returns. And so running for president raises his profile, gets people to go to his hotels. So he didn't want to win necessarily. He just wanted to make more money. Now he wins and it's like, well, whoop-de-doo. I can make even more money. But he's going to get caught.
But, you know, go ahead, baby.
Another thing about Ivanka, I mean, we've talked about on the show how Ivanka is his favorite child. I mean, she's rumored to be his favorite child. But in this book, Ivanka reportedly jokes frequently about her father's signature comb-over. And she says that the unusual color comes from a dye called Just for Men, which her father washes away too quickly out of impatience, resulting in the orange-blonde shade. How did Trump take that? Like, was there a big family meeting yesterday?
It's his little girl.
Part of this is that Michael Wolff, the journalist, gossip journalist, whatever, that he does have a sort of nefarious background. David Carr wrote in 2008, historically, one of the problems with Wolff's omniscience is that while he may know it all, he gets some of it wrong. The Atlantic dubbed him a portraitist who has mastered the art of the suck-up, put-down. So, talking about the author of the book being not the most trusted journalist in the entire world.
Well, because he's surrounded by a lot of people who are not necessarily trustworthy. Why is this a surprise? Come on.
But I think the point that Greta was making earlier is that we just have to take some of this with a grain of salt. I'm sure, like all things, there's some truth in here and there's some fiction. But the problem is this is self-inflicted wounds. You let a fox into the henhouse. You let a journalist shadow you for 18 months in the West Wing with your most trusted advisors and family. It's crazy.
Well, this is one of the things that I'm chuckling over. I'm chuckling over a lot of stuff, but he says he did 200 interviews, and then Sarah Sanders chimed in. She says, so far, from what I can tell, 95% of his interactions with officials were all done at the request of Mr. Bannon. So they are trying to push all of this onto Bannon and negate, which is what he does. You know, he gets caught with his pants down, and he says, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. I didn't say, who is this guy sitting on on the edge of my bed every day?
But he was interviewed by him too, right?
Yes.
It appears it was.
You know,
this is a good one. There's a passage in the book that says that Trump used to brag that sleeping with your friends' wives makes life worth living. And so in pursuing, listen to this is good. In pursuing a friend's wife, he would try to persuade the wife that her husband was perhaps not what she thought. Okay. And then, wait a second, then he would have his secretary ask the husband to stop by his office with the wife secretly listening via speakerphone. And then, do you still like having sex with your wife? He'd ask the guy while the wife is on speakerphone. You must have had a better shtup than your wife. Trump would apparently ask friends, tell me about it. I have girls coming in from L.A. at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs and have a great time. This is in the book. Now, who knows? I told Greta before during the break, and she said maybe Trump bragged about that.
No. What I said is, I asked. She told me about this. I said, "What's the source? Is it directly from Trump, or is it from someone else saying that Trump is always being the lawyer looking for the facts?" Look, this book is absolutely electrifying.
Trump told him.
I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know. I have nothing to do with this.
Listen to the Access Hollywood tape. Why would that be so incredulous?
Exactly.
Why would that not be true?
Because and I don't want to act like this, but it's factually possible that he didn't say this, but I certainly agree he said the Access Hollywood. I heard it with my own ears.
Yeah.
We heard it with our own ears. But I certainly, this whole book is absolutely electrifying. I worry what the rest of the world thinks as they read about this stuff, because they obviously pay very close attention.
Watching
They and there are a lot of really serious issues. I mean, I find far more, as electrifying and salacious. And I admit I read all this stuff, and I'm pulling my hair out looking at this, thinking, oh brother, what's going on at the White House, and who let this guy in, and what's being said. But is that you've also got the far more profoundly more important problem is Kim Jong-un in North Korea, and this Twitter fight over who's got the bigger nuclear button. Now that is not as electrifying as salacious,
but
maybe.
It's all in one piece, Greta, about how crazy the guy is and how corrupt he is and unethical. And how dangerous. It's all the same thing.
Greta has been covering many administrations, and I've called you a journalist. I hope that's accurate. That's how I've always considered you. But the territories that we are in right now are such intensely uncharted waters that it's difficult even for me as a commentator to come on here and comment on it every day, because it does feel like reality television. And what you're talking about globally, how the rest of the world sees us, again, I probably would guess half of this book is true, but the half that is true, even half is bad.
Any of it is bad.
Any of it.
A quarter is bad. It reflects very poorly on us. Very poor. A quarter of it.
How could he possibly recover, or can he?
Well, I said the same thing during the Clinton days when we had that. I mean, look, we were on fire during the Clinton days. We were covering that. Our hair was on fire every single day, and everyone's talking about constitutional crisis. They're talking about it now. I never thought we could recover. We did. We have a very resilient country.
This is worse.
Very resilient country. And this is noisy and salacious and ugly, and I don't want the world to see it. It's not the nuclear stuff with North Korea.
No, but it is of a piece. We're absolutely right. This is of a piece, because none of this behavior is in any of our bailiwicks. Truly, this kind of insanity on a daily basis every day. None of us are used to this. And so it's like, well, wait a minute now. You allowed a man to sit in your house, in the White House, for 18 months. Now, we hear stuff, we've heard stuff from other people, and people have said this and that, but the idea that you let someone be in there.
Yeah, how could you be that stupid?
How could you be that stupid?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And it goes to, it's the same reason you are foolish enough to say to Kim Jong-il, hey.
Mine is bigger.
Yeah.
My button's bigger.
Yeah.
Like, Kim really cares. Because this is a guy who doesn't have any checks and balances. He doesn't care about your butt.
I will say, when you talk about people like Mitt Romney being insane and binders full of women, it makes you kind of miss for the days of people like Mitt Romney, right?
I agree.
Well, it also makes you miss the days. It also makes you miss the days of a president who acted presidential like President Obama. It makes me miss days like that more than anything.
One more point about how much of the thing is true. I am sure that Michael Wolff has tape. He did not just, this is not just flying out of the air. He's got this on tape. Every good journalist knows to take it.
Getting pointed at. I've been so pointed at.
You are the designated survivor today.